Major players in the financial world are predicting a coming recession. What does that mean for us? That's what I'm thinking about today. We've seen some warnings just in the last couple weeks here. One of the largest banks in the world, Deutsche Bank, has come out with a warning predicting a major recession coming up. And not only a major recession, but they say it's going to be worse than expected. Kind of unsettling news. That's what's on my mind today. And as you might imagine, I've got a little bit of a different take on things than what you might think at face value. After reading the information that came out from Deutsche Bank, I mean, they've got some really good points in there. I started taking a look, and as I always do, thinking about, all right, how do I think about this? And I came across this. Let's take a look from the folks over at Goldman Sachs. Some really smart people over there, and this came out within the same week. And what do they say is that a recession's not exactly inevitable. Again, both really smart folks. A little bit more digging within the same week here from UBS. UBS says that look at economic data, there's no evidence of a recession in the next 12 months. How does that work out, right? And as always, my point is not to make fun of these folks. I mean, these are some of the smartest economic minds in the world. And we've got one predicting that there's a major recession, worse than expected, coming, and there's a lot of evidence of that. Looking at the exact same data, we've got other really smart people saying, I'm not sure it's guaranteed it might happen. And then we've got other, again, really smart folks saying, there's no evidence that this is even on the horizon on things, right? And so all of them can't be right. They can't be all correct on those things. And my point is that, listen, even though you read one thing, I saw that headline, I was sort of taken aback, and you go, golly, there's a lot of evidence. And you start digging, like there's a lot of evidence on all sides, and looking at it from the big picture, right? And seeing those things makes it a little less scary, having that perspective on things. And the other thing about these predictions is that in 6 or 9 months, when we start doing our 2023 predictions, who's going to remember who was wrong on this? No one, right? Goldman's going to be in the middle because either they're right or wrong. Either there is or isn't a recession. One or the other of UBS or Deutsche are going to be off, but then we're going to be on to the next one. Everybody forgets. Like, these predictions just don't hold a lot of water. And so my point with this video is just to say, listen, let's look at some perspective. It's not never as bad as it seems, and it's rarely as good as it seems either. Let's have some middle ground. Let me bring up one other quick point on here. Let's take a look at this slide from LPL Research, and it talks about, and this is apropos of nothing. It has no connection on it, but just interesting things I've been looking at here in the past week or two. And they have gains and intra-year declines for presidential campaign or presidential terms. And here we are at the midterm, and taking a look at the average drawdown. Look at that, about 17% down, right? An average midterm year is down 17%. Last I looked, S&P was down about 14%. So we're not even to that point yet. And what does this mean? Again, I don't know what this means, but for perspective, golly, it sure feels ugly out there, right? And then you look back historically speaking and you go, geez, in the second year, is there any evidence to this? Is it just data mining? Again, I don't know what to make of it. I don't take any of it too seriously, but at the same time, don't get too excited about and too worried about, geez, the market's down, we got inflation, we got all these things going on, what to think about it? And you go, okay, we're kind of about where we have typically been in a midterm year, for whatever that's worth. Interesting, of course, that the gray bars on there show the year after a bottom out, and we'll talk in some future episodes. I've been doing some research on how to think about maybe the rest of this year, but look at those following years. Hey, scary now if history repeats itself in some fashion, which we won't exactly, but there's reason to be like, oh, you kind of just charge through the dark times, and there are usually light times on the other side. So that's what I'm thinking about today. As always, I'm interested in knowing what you're thinking about. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment in the boxes below, shoot us an email directly, and thanks as always for watching.